Alright everyone, that was an amazing run by Robotic Rocketeer. Well done, sub-estimate, but we're not just speedrunning the games here, folks. We're also speedrunning the intermissions. Did you know we're already ready for Mirror's Edge here? Because we are. We've got Mirror's Edge Glitchless coming right away by Blackbeltginganinja. Why don't you take it away?
Great. Well, hello everyone. My name is Blackbeltginganinja. You can call me Black Belt. You can call me BBGN, whatever. And I'm joined by the illustrious inbounds and any percent runner, but really a jack of all trades in Mirror's Edge. Heki, say hi. Well,
Right, you are now here, Will. Sorry about that. My bad.
now say hi, Heki.
Okay. Hello.
Well, we are going to be doing Mirror's Edge Glitchless. You can think of Glitchless and Mirror's Edge as kind of like no major glitches. We've banned a lot of the major stuff that you might know from Mirror's Edge, so that's kick glitches, clipping in and out of walls, going out of bounds, all that big stuff. We're really going to be focused on the core movement in the speedrun. It's going to be really exciting. The other reason we're here is for charity. So I'm going to be doing a death-based incentive, personally. I'm going to start by donating, let's say, $20 a death, and if we get to like $100, I might lower that to $10 a death. But if we die, it's going to be for a good cause. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump into the run here. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, go. So 3, 2, 1, go. And we're off to the races. Thank you, thank you. First thing we do is we skip the prologue, the training here, and we go straight to the prologue chapter. There are 10 chapters in this game. This one is like 2 minutes long. The rest are like, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 4 minutes. So it's going to be, if all goes well, like a 50-minute run overall. Glitchless is going to be really focused on, again, this like core movement of Mirror's Edge. So when we talk about the core movement, I'm talking about what we call bunny hops, which is essentially just jumping to gain extra speed. Normally, Faith runs, her in-game speed is set to 26 kilometers per hour. We're going to get her up to 30 just by jumping. Additionally, you can see me kind of jumping and sliding off these walls. We call that a wall boost. Essentially, I have jump bound to scroll wheel down, so I can quickly jump on and off of walls, and that's going to gain me a lot of speed. Again, for reference, Faith is going to get up to like 40, 50 kilometers per hour with wall boost. So that's going to be like probably the main piece of tech you're going to see me doing anywhere that's possible. Of course, I need a wall to do it, so I'm a little bit limited. And when there's not a wall, I'll probably just try to squeeze in some bunny hops. And of course, I couldn't play Mirror's Edge without explaining the side jump boost. Essentially, side jumping in this game is an intended dodge mechanic, which has an added bonus of getting you instantly to top speed. So you get to pretty much get momentum anywhere you want in the game. It's pretty sick. And that's how I'm saying super speedy. Anytime you see me wave my hand across the screen like that, that's a side jump. Speaking of speedy, that's the first chapter here. Prologue is done. That was a pretty clean prologue, not too many mistakes. A few movement flubs in the beginning, but with nerves, that's alright. And we are going to be coming into chapter 1 in just a moment here.
I would say, as live runs go, that was a very good start compared to most.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge, Glitchless is a little bit more forgiving, but Mirror's Edge in general is, it's not like other PC speedruns where you have quick saves or anything like that. It's just a checkpoint-based system with some fairly unforgiving checkpoints. Maybe you can lose 30 seconds to a minute pretty easily. So any avoidance of death is great. Obviously not great for charity. If we die, you know, that's alright, but it's good for the speedrun at least. This is an elevator. It's also disguised as a little loading zone, so you'll see a lot of these little elevators where we get a brief rest before the next section of the fast-paced movement that you've all hopefully come to know and love as you get into this run. Cheeky little jump over the guards here. You're supposed to go around, but with a little wall boost I can bounce off their heads there and get right past them. And then another little bit of cheeky movement to skip going around the stairs section if you've ever played this section. There's a lot of little things here. I'm going to use a wall run kick. Oh, no, I'm not. You can use wall run kicks to kind of soften your fall. The wall run kick puts you in the grounded state at the end of its animation, which essentially resets your fall distance. So normally in Mirror's Edge, if you fall too far, you might have to do a roll or something like that. But by using the wall run kick, I can prevent instances where I might otherwise have to roll. And rolling is a bit slow. It takes my momentum away. We obviously don't want that. So We're gonna try to stay fast here. I really like this section of the game. This is called Flight, and there's a lot of nice little wall boosts here. As well, I can use these like speedball animations to gain a little bit of speed, which is also really cool. There's a lot of little things I'm doing to try to maintain speed. Again, you're going to see me use the wall run kick to redirect my momentum this way, and also land on this little awning. That's going to save me from having to land on the landing pad. And again, another cheeky little wall boost here. We're just going to be wall boosting wherever we can. You're going to see me here, actually, the same way you can do side jumps on the ground, you can do side jumps off the wall. Oh, messed it up a little bit there, but we didn't die, so that's what's important. You can actually get those side jumps off the wall. We call those sliding wall climbs, and then with a side step at the end, it's a sliding wall climb side step. Oh no! As you can see here, actually if I die there, oh, I've already quit and reload. That's alright. So what happened there is actually very unfortunate and pretty unlucky. It turns out I missed a major checkpoint somehow. I don't know. Sometimes you run through that section, and I'd say like 1 in 10, 1 in 20 times, you don't hit the checkpoint. Kind of a bummer. Loses like a solid minute.
There's
So,
like an issue in that specific spot where the loading will just stop. Because usually this game loads like frame based. Like every frame rendered will load a part of something. And for some reason that one door will just sometimes get stuck in the loading chain. And you either have to die or open up a pause menu and close it to make the door come back.
yeah, it's a major bummer. I probably could have died there and saved a little bit of time over quitting and reloading like I did, but gives me another chance at this sliding wall climb here. There we go. Yeah, those sliding wall climbs are probably the next fastest thing you can do other than a wall boost. But the cool thing about a sliding wall climb is that you get a little more height than a wall boost at the cost of having a little less speed. Another section here I'm supposed to go around the guards, but I can just kind of jump over them. They're not super dangerous, especially because we play on easy, where everything's a little bit safer. Easy doesn't affect much in this game, it just makes the guards less accurate. So it really is ideal for speedruns.
Makes the guards less accurate, and it gives you a very slight advantage in how fast you regain reaction time, which is not really used that much because it's kind of slow.
Yeah, there's an in-game mechanic called reaction time, which allows you to essentially slow the game down in real time. Obviously not ideal for speedruns in many cases, because slowing the game down means I'm going to lose just over 5 seconds while I'm in slow motion. Great for casual players if they want to time a tricky jump, but not super great for me, except in very specific instances, which, let's put a pin in that, because we're going to come back to that probably in like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah. Lots of fun stuff with that.
Yeah, we found turns out reaction time does a few weird things. It uncaps your frame rate on the PC port, and then it also messes with some of the triggers, so we can use that, again, to skip some dialogue and things. You'll see that in a little while. But we're actually I'm gonna ask you to refocus back on that sliding wall climb. I mentioned that you can get sliding horizontal wall climbs. Certain walls allow you to get super duper incredible sliding wall climbs, like this wall, and you can use that to clear huge gaps. Oh, just barely missed the ledge there. That's unfortunate. Only loses like 15 seconds, but let's try give that one more shot. Exactly, it did it for charity. You're welcome. So it's $20 right there.
You should also note that these are a lot harder than they look. It's not just sliding on a wall and jumping. You have to be very precise with your jump timing, and where you look when you start will determine your angle and stuff like that.
Yep. I'm gonna count that that door as another death, since I basically quit and reload to avoid a death. So we're at $40 now. $40 for charity. The game kind of randomly loading errored me at $20, but you know, it's for charity. It's for charity, you know. This is the canal section. If you didn't get wall boost by now, you're certainly going to get them here. I'm going to mix side jumps in with my wall boost to absolutely zoom through this section. Pretty much I'm the wall boosting the entire way through.
And it all just like blends together really well. to help you maintain speed. And I think the developers were aware of that because
Yeah.
if you do something in this game called a time trial or a chapter run, they will actually log your average speed. So they knew that people would be definitely moving very fast a lot.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of parkour games struggle with, is maintaining that sense of momentum, you know? The sequel to this game gives you an instant get up the speed button, which is a little less satisfying than a side jump. I'm gonna try a really hard skip here, which involves using this roll to lose a little bit of height, then a kick to delay the long fall animation, and then, oh, I kind of messed it up at the end there. My timing got off. I'll go for it one more time here. That's another 20 bucks right there, up to a total of 60. But if it all goes right here, really precise, but allows me to skip a trigger. There we go. Whew. That's probably one of the harder skips in the game, but that allows me to skip this whole scripted animation of waiting for a thing to fall. And it's also flashy as heck. I love that skip when it goes right. Yeah. There's so much going on in that, so much like little speed tech. You use a roll to lose some height, and then I use this like drop kick animation to prevent Faith from going into what is called the long fall animation. Essentially, you fall too far, she starts like wiggling her screen around, and it automatically makes you die whenever you hit the ground. Except, you can delay that animation for like a half second, which isn't going to help much. Except, if I delay it for half a second, I grab a pole, like a swinging pole, which is going to actually cancel that animation. So like, if there's a swinging pole or a pipe or something I can grab, delaying that animation is going to be very helpful.
It's also
at least so I can survive the fall.
It's also worth noting that
a little death there.
We quit to the menu like half a minute ago. Because we hit what we call hard checkpoints, where they update your save file and not just where you're placed in the game. So when you hit those, you can quit to the menu and come back, and they'll progress the story. And doing it there specifically, it skips a very long section of waiting for a door to close. So it's just a lot faster.
Yeah. There's a lot more places than any percent where we do that, right? Like, we go out of bounds, we hit a hard checkpoint, and then after we hit the hard checkpoint, we quit and reload to get the game to load properly. In this category, of course, we're not going out of bounds, but there are still maybe like 1 or 2 places, especially with loads removed, which is what we do on PC, where quitting and reloading makes a bit of sense to save some time, just because where the game places you afterwards is a little bit faster than where you were.
A shimmy mechanic that's not revolutionary to games, and a lot of them have it, but in this game you can just crouch along the ledge and it won't do it, because it doesn't like to interrupt animations with other animations.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of places where we're gonna override the animation with another animation, and that's gonna save some time. Don't have an example right now. Right here I'm actually going to use a bit of funky collision here for this valve and this waterfall, just to skip a nice little section of the Storm Drains climb. If you've ever done this climb, it can be a bit of a pain, especially your first time through. But the cool thing is they left this hitbox here for this water, which is very nice of the developers to do. So we can use that, a little bit of an exploit that is allowed in Glitchless, just to get up here a little bit faster than normal. We had to wait for this guy to go up. Once we hit that button, this allows us to get carried to the top. Would love if there was a skip for this little climbing scaffolding, but unfortunately nothing has been found in any category yet. So again, we just get like a brief 15-second rest there, and then another quick one in this elevator. So death count is at 4. That's 80 bucks for charity. I said I would go down to $10 if we hit 100 bucks, so might have to, unfortunately, fold into that. But you know, we'll see. Let's see if we can keep the rest of the run deathless. I certainly will not complain. Again, deaths are totally expected. I don't know if I've ever seen a Mirror's Edge speedrun without deaths. Oh, by the way, using that wall run kick here, just to prevent, again, any sort of fall damage. But in this case, actually using a little wall run kick to gain a little bit of horizontal momentum. So it can be used in it's a versatile move. It's used in a lot of different ways. And here I'm using it to move left. Ooh. Except I'm gonna have to eat my words from the beginning of this checkpoint. That is another really unfortunate death. That's a weird one. I very rarely get that death. There's a bit of barbed wire there that usually you get a little animation and then you kind of fall backwards, but for some reason the barbed wire in that instance decided to instant kill me, which is not unheard of, but pretty uncommon. Again, just shows like how brutal this game is.
It takes a couple of hits, but
let's try this again.
I think in very specific scenarios you can get hit multiple times at once.
Yeah, multiple times in like the span of one frame. Kind of nuts, but again, sort of part of the script when it comes to a live Mirror's Edge run. I actually just used the barbed wire there in a positive way. I used it to, again, similar to the wall run kick, reset my fall height, and actually survive a fall that I would have survived, but I would have had to roll. So the barbed wire can be helpful. It giveth and it taketh away. Cheeky little skip coming up here. With a bit of good camera movement, I can, let's actually focus here, jump over a gap that I'm not supposed to, grab a ledge! Yay! Got it. That's a toughie. It's a simple jump, but sometimes the simple ones are tough, you know? And that brings us to the end of chapter 2. If you've been keeping track, that means there's 7 more chapters. Oh, bit of bad movement on the scaffolding there, but at least we ended that chapter without another death, which is pretty common, unfortunately, to die there. On to chapter 3. Probably one of my favorite chapters in terms of like aesthetics and casually. I don't know if you agree, Heki. In any percent, there's like 2 or 3 huge skips. There's 4 checkpoints in this chapter. We call them, the checkpoints are labeled with letters, so 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D. In any percent, we actually skip straight from 3A to 3C. At least in like the high level speedruns, we do a skip for that. And Glitchless, this is one of the few categories where you do actually get to see checkpoint 3B. So if you only watch any percent runs, this is going to be a bit of a new section for you.
Pretty much just like 60% vent.
A section. Go ahead.
Not much else to it.
Yeah, I don't mind skipping this section. There's a bit of flashy movement in the middle, but yeah, this like vent section, I will not complain skipping it. It's, you know, it's again for casual players, it's kind of fun, but when you've done it for 2,000 hours, you get kind of sick of it.
I was just gonna say,
first use of a gun.
To
Sorry, go
elevators, in that usually when you are inside one, something will deload somewhere and load somewhere else, and it's just a way of like keeping you somewhere contained.
Yep. I mentioned it for a second earlier. I grabbed a gun. The reason we grab guns in this game is not to shoot enemies, which it would be helpful in some places to get them out of the way. But in this case, we have a gun just like laying on the desk, which we can use to blow through doors. You've probably noticed as I hit doors that there's a few different animations I use to open the doors. But really any damage will open a door, including shooting a gun. And I can shoot a gun without losing momentum, so we're going to try to keep this gun as long as possible. I'm going to try to toss it down this shaft, little hole here. And hopefully it lands in a place I can grab it on the way down. It looks like it fell in the edges of the elevator shaft, so I'm not getting that guy back. That's fine. There's one more door I wanted to shoot, but I'll just hit it normally. This is another section that's really flashy and, if done well, is very fun. But there's a lot of like cute little skips, like that little jump over there, this little jump over the barbed wire. Stuff you really wouldn't see casually, but in a speedrun really speeds up this section. There's actually a nice little skip coming up here. With just a simple wall run on this wall here, you actually skip a trigger that spawns some guards. Normally the guards would harass you here, but I'd get to avoid that. Another cool skip here, little sliding wall climb. Tried to chain that into a wall boost, but fortunately missed the wall boost. I'll do another little wall boost there though. And then I'll grab this pipe, just a little bit higher up than I'm supposed to with a wall climb sidestep. Bada bing. That's a checkpoint 3C. This is the checkpoint we normally skip right to in any percent, but you got to see the full thing in Glitchless, which again is really a perk to this category, is getting to see that content you normally don't. Alright. Another instance where quitting and reloading is faster. Checkpoint icon just hit in the bottom left corner, so I quit and reload, and that will skip the rest of this elevator animation. Another interesting thing is that if I hit W right as the game loads in, W is being the forward key, obviously, I actually gain instant speed after certain loading triggers. I think it has something to do with uncapping the frame rate during loading.
Like,
maybe you know a little more about that, Heki.
If your frame rate is very low, you will accelerate like a lot faster. And when you load into a stage, your FPS slowly builds up from 0 to 62, which is the default cap that we play at.
Yeah, so you get instant speed after loading triggers. Pretty cool. You wouldn't know it, but I did a cheeky little sliding wall climb on a bit of weird collision, and that actually skipped like a minute and a half of content. It's one of the simplest skips in the game, which is Glitchless approved. Again, it's just literally a sliding wall climb, right? We are definitely exploiting the game's geometry, but not using any of like the big tech that these speedruns are sometimes known for. And with that, we're done with Chapter 3. We have to go through this 15-second white screen where the dialogue kind of chats through.
Rip Joe.
But we're cooking. We're going right into Chapter 4. Rip Joe. He spilled his Joe all over the keyboard. Poor guy. All right. Chapter 4 is another one of those chapters where in like every other category other than inbounds, we are skipping over this whole checkpoint. So you get to see a bit of fresh Glitchless content here.
This is another one of my favorite.
We are going to go
levels.
inside here. Go ahead.
Just because the inside section is like really satisfying
Underrated
to move
level.
through fast. Because there's a lot of stuff to get stuck on.
Yeah. It's very easy to get stuck in this speedrun as well, but I'm going to try my best not to. I'm going to use actually the shimmy animation to cancel my hardfall animation right there, which is another really cool bit of tech that you don't really get to see anywhere else in the game as far as I'm aware. Again, lots of overriding animations here. I'm going to use a vertical kick in the same way, just to actually, here I don't need a vertical kick, but the vertical kick animation does a very similar thing. If you ever see me do like a vertical, like a taekwondo, what do you call, kung fu kick thing, like that animation is also used. And there's rope burn. He likes to jump out and scare you. This is unfortunately unskippable. And like in inbounds as well, where we have access to glitches, we're still not able to skip this dude. It's a quick time event where you have to right click and disarm him. The cool thing is I can just mash the disarm button, so I'm just gonna mash away here. There's no penalty for mashing, so I just mash through this, hit the quick time event perfectly every time, and we're done with this unskippable cutscene. He just died, by the way. Unfortunate. Every other category saves rope burn, and this one we
wondering what's
definitely
going
kill
on
him.
in the story, and honestly, it's not worth thinking about.
Yeah, the whole gist of the story is that your sister's a cop. You are a runner in the sense that you work for this. You don't work for. You work against the dystopian government. You deliver secret messages in a government that's based heavily around surveillance. Your sister, who is a cop, very different job from you, obviously, is framed for murder. So you run from place to place, gathering evidence, trying to figure out what's going on with your sister. That professional wrestler named Ropeburn, who just fell off of a roof, he is also a killer for hire, so we thought maybe he knew something about it, or maybe possibly he did the murder. I forget exactly how the story ends up, but essentially he dies, we don't get the evidence, and we have to chase another lead. So now we spend the rest of this chapter essentially, we talked to Ropeburn, obviously, we now just need to escape from the cops, so that's what the rest of this chapter is all about.
We go to help him up, and someone shoots him in the back anyway.
Yep. We don't kill him. I mean, we put him in a situation where he gets killed, but, you know, the blood is not technically on our hands, which is, you know, I guess a good thing. There's a achievement in this game for not killing anyone, not shooting anyone at least. You can kill people with like melee, but there's a clear focus in this game on avoiding combat where possible, and I'm getting stuck on this bit of collision here. There we go. So, luckily, killing Ropeburn does not disable that achievement, though, because we don't kill him, the other person does, so all good. A little bit of a nice wall run there to avoid some swinging poles up top. And now we're going to see the tail end of this train here. That's actually pretty good RNG. This train is random when exactly it loads, but with perfect loading RNG, I can get all the way down this tunnel. Whew! You might have heard the train honk in the background. That was a close one. That train loves to troll me, but really good movement and a bit of good luck means that I was able to get down that tunnel without having to stop. So all good there. It was not great, not ideal, but we made it. Oop, got a little stuck there. That's all right. And this brings us to the one and only auto-scroller. Maybe one of the few auto-scrollers in a first-person platformer that you're gonna see, to be honest. This train section is actually really neat, like technically what they're doing behind the scenes. You spend the first half, or maybe the first like 5-10 seconds, on like an actual moving platform. Like the game actually just thrusts this train forward at really high speeds. Unfortunately, that messes with your physics. So if you try to jump from this train to this train, I'm sure the developers figured out that that was really hard to do with this thing moving at 75 kilometers per hour. So their elegant and kind of wonky solution was, instead of making these trains move, they actually made all the walls move around you. So the trains are stationary right now, and all the walls are just zooming past us. If I took a third-person camera, you would just see this like wall animation flying by. Now again, we are on an actual moving platform for this final bit of the train ride. But it's a really funny little piece of trivia that you wouldn't know unless you flew around the game looking for skips like I have, or the other community members have.
Yeah. It's like very hard to
That brings us to the end of
because
Chapter
it's
4
just
and
done
into Chapter
very
5.
well.
I got a question then.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Are there
seamless.
any tricks in like say any percent in like with glitches and stuff that you can perform in that section then? Related to that?
That's actually a super good question, and it's something we've looked for. The problem is that in any percent, in any category, there is a death plane underneath the, like the train section, right? So if you fall off the train, you die instantly. Good design, by the way. I'm glad they did that, otherwise it'd be a terrible casual experience. But that means that it's really hard to get off the train. Now, we can get into that area. I'm pretty sure people have done it before. They've gotten into that area without the death plane loading, which is great. The bad news is that the rest of the area also doesn't load, which is not great. It means there's no floor to walk on, so there's no way we're getting to the next checkpoint.
So you could potentially climb on top of the level,
but I'm guessing that's not going to be
the
fast.
issue is getting that with the thing deloaded. But for some reason, you can only do that while playing with a controller. So if anyone wants to riddle me that and tell me how it works, please do. Because I spent countless hours trying to force it to work, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a Mirror's Edge history to be made. If anyone wants to give that a shot, we'd be very grateful. We've been flying through Chapter 5 here. Got to skip through the first checkpoint just with a little bit of cheeky animations to jump over some guards, which is very nice. And now here, I'm going to use wall climb sidestep here, just to, again, skip a bit of climbing and skip some guards that would otherwise spawn. I think they're spawning now. I really outsped them, so we're good. Another bit of tech here. There's a bunch of poles you're supposed to grab, but with some well-placed wall runs and wall climbs, I can just sort of climb up the shaft manually there. And right here, you're gonna see me look straight down. That initiates what we call a glide. Glides are pretty cool in this game. Essentially, if you are like super close to a ledge that is just the right height, you'll kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, you glide right off of it and you gain a little bit of extra height. It's used in a few places, and in those places, it's a very cool jump alternative. And it's also good for certain setups for skips, like, which is an added bonus.
That there's no other way to describe it other than you just glide.
Yeah. Yeah. I love glides. I think they're super cool. Gonna try to do a nice little sliding wall climb into a wall run here. If all goes well, I should zoom right through the section here. Yeah, just like that. Another sliding wall climb here. Oh, fell down, but that's all right. The fact that you can chain sliding wall climbs into wall runs is absolutely sick. I talked a lot about the major about the fact that there are major glitches like the kick glitch in this game. If you've seen a Mirror's Edge speedrun, you probably know that you can chain the kick glitch. Like pretty much, if there's two parallel walls, you could chain them infinitely and get up to like, the in-game speed is like 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles per hour, if you're American like me. You can get absolutely nut speed. But with sliding wall climb side steps, which are allowed in Glitchless, you can also get up to like 60 kilometers an hour. So it's a very good alternative to kick glitches, at least as good as we can get in Glitchless. And it uses pretty much all the mechanics as intended, other than the fact that maybe the developers weren't aware that you could chain them together so seamlessly. Really cool how much creativity there is in this game.
It just wasn't something that crossed their minds of putting them together.
Yeah. Okay, big skip here. Again, you wouldn't know it. I can use the sign, bit of wonky collision on it, to get up to a section I shouldn't be able to. I have to spam jump to stay on this ledge. That's how thin it is. If I do everything right, though, I should be able to jump right to the section. And whew, that was very clean. That saves, God, like a minute and a half over the intended route, and then another like 30 seconds over the previous skip that we had found. That cute little section there is probably, I practiced it for like 10 hours. It's very hard, but you wouldn't know it. Got right through it very quickly.
Newer developments in Glitchless. We had an alternative there for aim for a long time, and no one really figured out how to do it in Glitchless until maybe like a year ago.
Yeah, that's probably one of the newest things to be in the run. This is pretty cool. I actually didn't start doing that in runs until I started practicing for this marathon. So, you know, nothing a good bit of de-rust will do for you, right? Evan, I just want to do a quick check-in. I am still doing that death-based incentive, but I don't think I've taken a death in a hot minute, right? I think I'm still at 5 deaths, $100, unless you're remember anything since like chapter 2 or 3, Heki, that I'm forgetting.
I missed one death because my counter says 80.
If anyone sees anything. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, did you count the chapter 1 door not loading? Okay. I think I died one more time. I will just say $100. That's fine. Okay. Well, $100. Well, I'll do another $20 if I die one more time. I'll do one more $20, but you know, we're getting a little high there, so we'll see. We'll see.
That's true.
I'm joking, of course. I am comfortable with this amount. Don't worry.
It was intended, but.
Oh, good point, good point. I'm gonna count that. Yep, that's 120 then. You saw me grab that pole over there, which might have seemed weird because like I just kind of jumped off of it and didn't go anywhere. And the reason I do that is because that is the loading trigger for that door over there. So now with that door loaded, I can just sort of jump on over to it and perceive the level as normal. But one of the few instances where you gotta have to like go out of your way to grab the loading trigger. Normally they're in kind of intuitive places, but that one is just out of the way. They never expected you to do that section in that order.
Pretty much the only chapter where you would have a chance of crashing the game, and there's 2 spots where it can happen in Glitchless. One of them's here and it didn't crash, so that's very good. The other one will be later on, but even it's probably not even worth mentioning because the crash rate is very low, but it's something interesting, I guess.
Ignore the flubbed movement there. Oh, continue to ignore the flubbed movement. What's the backup here? I guess I'll do that. Nice. There we go. Lost a bit of time there to flood movement, but all good. You gotta have backups on backups ready for this game. And luckily, again, a lot of creativity to be had, so...
Yeah, I think
there's a lot of making up backups, I think, whenever you're running this game.
Like the really fast people from the kind of fast people. Just by how well you can recover when you mess up, because it's going to happen like, a lot in this game. It is 100% like user fault if something
Yeah.
goes wrong.
Very little RNG, right? Like, there was a few sections like that train loading or like the door not loading in chapter 1 where stuff is a bit out of my control. But other than that, like, yeah, there's not like huge bits of RNG that are going to affect the game, right? It really comes down to your core movement. I think it's a lot like more popular speedruns like Super Mario 64 in that sense, you know? Or maybe Portal's another similar one, although Portal is much more forgiving because of the quick saves, at least relatively speaking. Of course, Portal is much more high level because of the quick saves, so, you know, it's kind of a, maybe not much more high level, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit more optimized because of those quick saves than this game, I think, is. I really zoomed through chapter 6 there. You saw me just kind of use some wall climb and wall runs to, oh, let me hit this button, to skip past some parkour guards. Little story check-in here. We continue to looking for evidence about our sister's alleged murder, and in the process of doing so, we figure out that the city's actually training guards to do parkour to chase us. Oh no. So these parkour guards are currently on my tail, and they are part of this unraveling mystery about what's going on in the city's underbelly. So, oh no, you know? We're just gonna keep running. That's our solution. So it doesn't really change much in terms of the speedrun, but
we just went through was the
that's the story.
second crash spot. Just thought I'd mention that earlier because I already talked about it once.
Yeah. No crashes. And with chapter 6 done, we are going off to chapter 7, the boat. Another infamous chapter in any percent. There's a lot of jokes made at marathons that it's no boat because there is actually a skip that skips literally the entire chapter. But with this, ooh, I can do a nice little skip there to, again, use the dropkick animation to grab that pole and let me fall farther than I'm supposed to. But I'm not going to get to skip the entire boat like any percent, so we really get to see a nice little boat section. Dialogue skip coming up here. I mentioned that reaction time can skip stuff, and right at the end of this dialogue, I'm going to hit reaction time. You'll see it in a sec. Okay, after fight, I hit reaction time. You can see that I'm kind of moving in slow motion now. Might be hard to see with the stream and everything. But that reaction time is going to mess with the triggers. Heki actually explained it to me in a way I've never heard before at the beginning, before we were talking in this run. Essentially, it messes with the audio triggers. And that messing with the audio triggers makes it so this section actually basically loads in faster. It's reloaded the whole time if you don't do the skip, but the door refused to actually open until the audio cue and like the game decides it's ready to open. So we made it open faster than it's supposed to. That literally saved 30 seconds. It's one of the biggest revolutions for the glitches category in the past 2 to 3 years. And it's such a modest little skip too.
When
so
you go into
cool.
reaction time, the game slows down, and then it stays at a time scale, and then it speeds itself back up, like gradually. So you activate a sound node, and then you
There we go.
finish reaction time where the game speeds up, and it will pretty much just speed up how fast the sound is interpreted as being progressed by the sound node.
Yeah, fancy stuff.
That's what a lot of us did.
I just hit the button, you know?
Just hit the button.
it's pretty
And then
easy
you
for
were
me.
like, actually, this is how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're lucky to have a few, I'll call them like game scientists that are really invested in the code and can help us explain stuff that we otherwise don't understand. So very grateful for people like NewLaft and other people who have, you know, made tools and dug into the game's code and helped us to unravel what's kind of going on behind the scenes there. I'm being sniped right now, unfortunately, by this sniper. This secret sniper is gonna be kind of like an antagonist of the game. I've skipped over a lot of the dialogue and scenes where you see them. I'm getting trolled by the movement right now. There we go. But this is the first chance we actually have to fight them. You can think of this kind of like a boss fight, except The secret is, once you know like the magic combo that kills this person, it's pretty easy. Just 5 punches. You alternate crouch punches and regular punches. And on easy difficulty, at least, once you get 5 hits, that is going to be enough damage to get you to the next phase, a chase sequence. On medium difficulty or normal difficulty, it's 7 hits, and on hard, I think it's 9.
Yeah,
So another instance where
interestingly,
playing on easy is the faster
you
method.
can't visibly take her weapon away until you hit her 6 times. But the actual requirement for it is 5, so you can grab it early.
Mm. Yeah, a little bit of trivia there. So now we're doing this chase sequence, but if I'm doing it well, at least, chase sequence should be kind of silly in the sense that I go so fast that the character ends up just teleporting ahead of me. You can see the teleporting happening a little bit here, maybe. I'm gonna maybe clip through the... They're not a solid object, so I can just kind of clip right through them. Yeah, they're behind me here. They are chasing me instead of me chasing them, which is a very visual representation of how fast we really are going in that section, which I like. And another chance here. I've gone so fast, in fact, that it would take that antagonist a bit of time to actually get up to their scripted position at the top of these boxes. So at least with loads removed, and maybe even in real time, it ends up being a little bit faster. I'm choking a little bit the movement, but it ends up being a little bit faster to quit and reload, and to let them instantly get to the top by reloading the section. And then I do another 5 hits, and we skip the cutscene, so there's no spoilers. So that is the end of Chapter 7. This character is revealed to be spoiler, and then we move on to save our sister in this chapter, which is named after our sister. It's called Kate.
For some reason, if you like occupy her position, she'll just like teleport out of bounds. Like there's no failsafe for it. She won't just spawn somewhere else where she needs to be. She'll just be outside of the map, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Fun little skip calling up. We call this the big jump. It's a little bit scary. Clench for me. Okay. Whew, we made it. Another case where just a simple little jump is maybe the most stressful thing you can do, you know? Yeah, we're good there. Phew. This next checkpoint is also kind of a clencher. The fastest route through this level means skipping like any checkpoints, like soft checkpoints, mid checkpoint here. So hopefully I don't die, but the pressure's on here if I do, because I'm gonna lose a lot of time. I'm gonna use a wall run kick here to soften my fall, and then I'm gonna use a wall boost over this gap. Yeah, a bit tight to get over both those barbed wires, but if done correctly, I get to skip a whole section down below. I look to the left to clip through these pipes, which are not solid, and I just sort of yeet myself into the void here. Yeah, perfect. I can actually use this door. Similarly to all these other animations, I use that door kick animation to overwrite the hard fall animation and save myself from rolling there. Just another animation cancel that's going to save us a little bit of time. It can only be done if there's a door, though. The normal dropkick animation will not cancel your fall.
I also want
But
to
if
say
there's a door there, it will.
The wall boost,
Which is kind of a little bit weird.
Shouldn't really be
And this is
glossed
the...
over, because you need a very good wall boost to get over that gap. And you can usually tell by the way that someone does a wall boost how experienced they are, because there's a lot of depth to them, especially with how much speed you get. So very, very hard.
Well, Heki was explaining that you hopefully got to see a bit of mesmerizing movement through the atrium with some very nice backing music. That's probably one of the hardest sections casually. It's like the last big puzzle section in the game. This game is broken into like these high-octane chase sequences, and then these like more puzzle-based platforming sections. I think both are good in their own right, but I think the atrium is kind of the climax of that puzzle part of the game, whereas this next chapter is going to be focused more on like the movement and the combat, and the more high-octane stuff. So that's a very fun section that we get to kind of breeze right through. I'm going to quit and reload here just to save a bit of time. It's faster than falling down there, so that's good. And here you get to see pretty much the only weapon-based section in the game where I'm like have to fire a gun. My sister is in this convoy, and I'm gonna do you know, something really elegant to get her free from the convoy. I'm gonna shoot the engine, and the convoy's gonna crash. I'm also gonna do the little Easter egg here. If you shoot the middle of that circle, a giant rat
The pacifist
through the
achievement
city.
we mentioned earlier, the description for it is finish the game without firing a weapon at an enemy. So getting here in your first playthrough is very confusing because it's like shoot the truck, but if you're trying to be a pacifist, it's very hard to realize if you should be shooting the truck or if there's a different method.
What is the different method, if I may
Yeah,
ask?
I
There
agree.
isn't one. That's
So
it.
you can't get pacifist in this line.
There is none.
You
Gotta
can.
shoot the truck.
That truck doesn't count for it for some reason.
Ah.
But they don't mention that. They're just like, yeah, you have to shoot a gun here. Yeah.
What a silly little achievement. It's a good achievement though. I think if people are playing this game, like your first playthrough, use guns, do whatever you need to have fun. Second playthrough, I think it's really fun to try doing it without shooting anyone because you start to learn all the cheeky little ways that you can skip enemies. That leads me to maybe I'll start smoothly transitioning into the plug bit of the run. We are in the last chapter here. The run is coming to its close, maybe like 5 minutes left. And this is a good time for me to say, like, lots of tutorials available. If you do want to play the game once or twice casually, it's a smooth 3 to 4 hour experience your first time through.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 5 hours if you really take it slow. So lots of tutorials online, right? If for pretty much every level of play. There is an in-game speedrun mode, so lots of tutorials
So
on
many
how to get through that
tutorials,
quickly.
in
So
fact,
it's a
that we
really fun game
indexed-
to pick up and learn.
Indexed them into like one long list. Just because they're
Yeah, of course, we have a Discord, and on that Discord, there's tons and tons of resources linked. Resources about how to run past those guards without taking any damage, or stuff like that. Doing another cheeky little reaction time skip here. I mix it in with a few tabs here. Tabs is like the equivalent of pausing. It brings up the objective screen. If all goes well, I should skip a bit of dialogue here. This elevator we call the beverage elevator because the last word in the dialogue is beverages. But if all
This
goes
trick's
well, you'll never hear
actually
that word.
Pretty funny,
So,
and we already
all good
knew
there.
about this dialogue skip,
But yeah,
but
Oh, go
for
ahead.
like maybe I want to say like 8 years, just no one thought to do it without being out of bounds. And then all of a sudden, it's just a free 20-second time save. 'Cause
yeah.
Someone had that idea.
Did a bit of a death there, that's alright. I missed this pole, but the cool thing about these poles, if done correctly, is that if you wall run right after grabbing a pole, you actually keep the vertical momentum from the pole. And you get to gain a little bit of height there, and that skips a bit of movement. But I don't want to gloss over what Heki said. That is a silly bit of trivia. I mentioned that sometimes use reaction time to time tricky jumps, and that is, I think, quite literally what we were doing, right? Is we were using reaction time for a tricky out of bounds skip in that section. And people were like, "Oh, that's lucky. It also skips the dialogue." And then, yeah, it wasn't until years later we were like, maybe we should just like hit reaction time in Glitchless. Very silly, very fun. This section of the game is maybe the last section that I'm super worried about taking a death in. So we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna do a little sliding wall climb again over this section here. And there's snipers shooting me, so hopefully they are nice. And I'm gonna use this little tiny bit of collision to get a tiny little wall run. Oops, which will hopefully get me over this barbed wire fence. Oh no. I'm gonna let myself heal a little bit, so hopefully I don't die, but let's try this one more time. There we go. Oof. That's a tricky little skip there. But that saves a good bit of having to run around the rooftops and get sniped,
Also
and it's
looks
just,
very cool.
it's a gross if I don't get it, so glad I got it. Yeah, it's a good example of how wall runs are kind of coded to be very friendly. You can wall run just a little bit past the wall than you think you're able to, right? Like, it's kind of like that, I've heard it called coyote time, where you can kind of jump a little bit after you run off the wall. We don't have that for regular jumping in this game, but we certainly have that for wall runs. So you can get a little bit higher and a little bit further than you think you can, which we exploit to the absolute max in the speedrun, of course. This is the last little bit of reprieve here. There's one more section. I have to disarm a guard, shoot some servers, and then we are basically home free. We're like a minute away from the end of the run here. So fingers crossed we don't die. Again, this section is one of those sections where if you played it casually, especially on hard, it is such a pain, but it's very, very fun on this difficulty because with just the right route, I know how to skip past these guards. I disarm this big dude with this big machine gun. I use this big dude's machine gun to shoot these servers, which apparently messes with this door. It allows this door to open. That lets us get to the end of the game. So I don't really understand the in-game logic there, but super happy to be able to speed through it. And time is going to come up in about 15 seconds here. I'm going to do a cheeky quit and reload. That is going to save a literally 2-minute cutscene where the main villain monologues at you. And I'm just going to have to jump to the end. I can't go too fast here. If I go too fast, and this is not a joke, the game will kill me. So I'm going to try to go a little bit slower than normal. And time. GG. For those who, we track everything without loads in this game. For those who are interested, that is a 46:29 without loads. We have an automatic load removing timer built into LiveSplit, so 46:29 is the leaderboard time that you would see. So about, it's very good for a marathon. Of course, when you're not in a marathon, there is a lot of optimization to be had. The world record is sub 40 by a great guy called Odger, who is actually hanging around in chat right now. So GG's. Thanks everyone for hanging out.
We have a super generous $140 coming from Nick saying, I can't believe that Mirror's Guy's Edge died 7 times. Shaking my head.